There's something quietly unraveling behind closed doors. It's not a war, not a riot, not something you'll see on the front page, but it's everywhere. In apartment bedrooms, on dating apps, in the empty seats across candlelit tables. It's a silent epidemic. Men are pulling away from relationships, not because they don't care, but because they no longer see the point. This is the relationship recession. And if you're a man watching this, you might already be in it. So, what changed? Not long ago, love was the cornerstone of life. A man's identity often revolved around being a partner, a father, a provider. But somewhere along the way, the ground began to shift. Now, more men than ever are opting out, emotionally, romantically, sexually. They're not just single, they're disconnected. The numbers speak volumes. According to recent data, over 60% of young men are single, and not by choice. But what the numbers don't show is the why. Why do modern men feel like love is slipping away? Why is genuine connection starting to feel like a risk, not a reward? This video isn't just about statistics. It's about the psychological storm quietly brewing inside the modern male mind. And once you understand it, you might never look at relationships the same way again. Point 1. The fear of failure has mutated men. Today, aren't just afraid of rejection. They're afraid of becoming irrelevant. In a world that's constantly redefining gender roles, the traditional expectations placed on men have collapsed, but nothing has clearly replaced them. Do you lead or do you listen? Do you pursue or do you wait? Do you provide or do you split everything 50-50? There's confusion, and confusion breeds hesitation. Men aren't disengaging because they don't want love. They're disengaging because they don't know the rules anymore. And in the silence that follows that uncertainty, many retreat. Not out of weakness, but out of quiet self-preservation. Because if you don't play, you can't lose. Right? Point 2. The rise of emotional starvation. Most men don't lack attention. They lack understanding. Modern dating is filled with validation but void of vulnerability. Likes, matches, texts. They're easy to get. But someone who truly sees you, someone who listens without judgment, someone who stays when things get hard? Rare. Deep down, men are starving. Not for sex, but for safety. The kind of safety where they can drop the mask, where they can be strong and soft, without being shamed, where they can cry and not be questioned, where being a man doesn't mean being a machine. But here's the tragic twist. Most men don't even know they're starving. They've learned to numb it. Through silence, through grind culture, through distractions, through "I'm fine." Until one day, they realize they're surrounded by people, but feel completely alone. Point 3. Relationships have become a transaction. Modern love has shifted. Connection used to be about who you are. Now, it often feels like it's about what you bring. Do you have status? Are you emotionally intelligent? Do you make six figures? Do you offer excitement, security, depth, freedom, all at once? It's not that women are demanding too much. It's that many men feel like they're constantly being evaluated and constantly falling short. And in that environment, love becomes less about intimacy and more about performance. It's exhausting to constantly wonder, am I enough? Do I meet the checklist? Will I still be loved if I lose everything? So instead of risking the pain of never measuring up, many men just step back. Not because they don't want connection, but because they fear it's conditional. Point 4. Porn, passivity, and the path of least resistance. We can't ignore the elephant in the room. Many modern men are turning to easy substitutes. Digital dopamine over human connection. Swipe culture over slow intimacy. Fantasy over fear of failure. Porn. Casual flings. Endless scrolling. They offer a quick fix. But like junk food for the soul, they leave men emptier than before. And yet, they're safe. They don't reject you. They don't challenge you. They don't ask for emotional labor. They don't threaten your self-worth. So while these habits feel like comfort, they're often just a shield. A shield against vulnerability, against being seen, against being hurt. But shields don't just block pain, they block love too. Point 5. The identity crisis no one talks about. There's a deeper layer to all of this. Modern men are facing an identity crisis. They're told to be strong, but not too strong, to lead, but not dominate, to be emotionally open, but never fragile, to be confident, but not arrogant. It's a balancing act that feels impossible. So they shut down. Because when you're punished for missteps, it feels safer not to move at all. And when you lose clarity in who you're supposed to be, how can you know who to love, or how to love at all? This crisis isn't just personal, it's cultural, and it's creating a generation of men who feel lost in the one place they once found meaning: relationships. A quiet revolution begins with you. So where does that leave us? In a world where dating has become a minefield, where masculinity is questioned at every turn, where love feels like a battlefield more than a sanctuary, there's still hope. Because despite everything, most men do want love. Not the fantasy, not the filtered highlight reel, but the raw, the real, the I see you kind of love. But it begins with facing the truth. Modern men are hurting. They don't always have the words. They won't always show it. But the pain is there. In the silence, the distance, the checked-out eyes. And maybe the first step isn't fixing men. Maybe it's hearing them, creating space for them, letting them feel like they matter, not for what they provide, but for who they are. The relationship recession isn't the end of intimacy. It's the beginning of something deeper, a reckoning, a return, a quiet revolution of the heart. And maybe, just maybe, the men who walked away aren't lost. They're just waiting to be seen.